right, I'm going to call our meeting back to order at 1:41, and we're going to start with our 6.5. Turn your mic on. My mic, sorry. We're going to start with our 6.5 item, 1:30 p.m. item, which is A, consideration of presentation of Community Development Department historical revenue and expense analysis, and B, request for board direction regarding department operations and loan repayment plan. And we're going to start with our Community Development Director, Maria Turner.
Other device, hang on. 1 second, sorry.
My apologies. I was streaming the meeting on my iPad, so I could hear you down at my feet for a moment. Mireya Turner, Community Development Director. We would like to request a continuation of this item. I know that it has been eagerly awaited by both the board and the public. We have dedicated significant staff time, both us and I'm sure Stephen can agree on the administrative office side of staff time, evenings and weekends, to get all the data that has been compiled for you and is finally available to the public on our PowerPoint slides and supporting documentation as well. I am working on now fleshing out options for the board to consider that include staff reductions, reductions in services, and increase in fees that will be easier for the board to consider if it's all laid out for you in different options. That part is still ongoing. Additionally, while I do extend sincere gratitude to the administrative office for the time that they have committed to assisting us and meeting with us through this process, I'm afraid that my extra load on Casey may have caused her to not be able to outrun the virus season. And it would be very helpful if she also was able to attend, because admin had significant input both in the slides that we're presenting as well as the slides that are on admin's behalf.
Okay, anything, Mr. Carter, anything further?
I don't have anything to add at this point. It'd be more if your board has questions. There are some further analysis that needs to be done by administration, if you notice from the slides as well, because things don't 100% balance currently.
Okay. Bring it back to the, in front of the board for discussion on this. And go ahead, Supervisor Sabatier.
I think we need to have some level of a conversation. I feel like we've been kicking this can down the road since late December. In December, after the loan, we were told that this would be a 3-year process. We made some requests at that point in time, and it just feels like we are just keep pushing back the inevitable conversation to the point where we're just going to finish the year. And then there's been not really a conversation at this point, you've made changes, so that means we're trusting that you're making the changes, and this doesn't require any board action. I feel like we have to have a conversation. Maybe today we don't finalize anything, but kicking the can down the road, knowing that there are some deep issues and concerns, just doesn't feel right. And I know that you're not done with your process, but I don't know, I guess I'm feeling if we kick the can down the road once more, then what's our purpose as a Board of Supervisor? This is not as important as we intended it to be when we asked for it to come back in December. So that's just a little bit of frustration on this process, and I feel like we have no control over it because we just keep pushing it further and further and further.
Supervisor Pyska.
Oh, thank you. I fully appreciate Supervisor Sabatier's comments and position. In the meantime, well, first of all, we'll request a continuance to the very next agenda where all 5 supervisors will be able to attend. which would be March 3rd. In that meantime, I will be able to confer further also with HR regarding the correct processes to go about for staff reductions, as well as notifying the potential staff one by one to just so that they're not blindsided during our conversation.
Go ahead.
I mean, I do agree with Supervisor Sabatier that this has been a frustrating and long process, but also I think if we're going to have this conversation, we need to have it in a productive way. What you provided us is a lot of data and details, and I think it was important for all of us to review and the public to review too. But we do need to see what the plan is. That's what we asked for, and I think giving you that time to come back when we are next all together to give us the plan is how we should proceed. So I'm okay with pushing this just a little bit further so that we can get exactly what we've asked for to move forward.
And I'll weigh in similarly, it is a priority that we have to get this done, but when I reviewed everything yesterday, I didn't feel we were quite there with solid plans, or plans plural, maybe one or more, to give us something that we can really move forward with to get this corrected. So I'm in favor of continuing it because we're still going to have to go over the same information again once we meet, if we do move it to March. But I think we're very close, and that additional time will give us all the information we need to actually make some decisions in that meeting. So that's where I said. Supervisor Crandall?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the middle. I don't really, I feel like if we go into discussion today, we're going to go off into some rabbit holes or some other topics, and then we're going to come back and talk about everything again, plus whatever feedback that they're given, they're going to implement it. So I mean, I think I'm okay with postponing if need be, but I do agree it would be good to get some dialogue in because, this has been it's been a minute. So, but again, I'm good with postponing it.
Supervisor Sabatier?
And so I know that you're basically saying you don't have the options at this moment in time fleshed out entirely, but you do have pages and pages of material. Can you present the material so we can ask some questions so then the public can hear and understand what's being presented to us to help understand the status? Or is that information also potentially in flux where that needs to be changed? Because I think better understanding this coming out of this meeting can allow us a week to sit on that information, think it through, and maybe come up with better perspectives than waiting for the options and that presentation all at once. And I just think March 3rd is just, it's too far.
So I would say one thing related to that, sorry.
That's okay, go ahead.
The financial data will change, especially the things related to mid-year budget, which currently do not balance. There's still work that needs to be done with CDD to make those balance. And I just basically finalized how much general fund was going to be needed in mid-year. So I just got new information that will help the conversation on whether extra support can be done or not, which is part of one of the options, versus everything else going on. So we wouldn't have the full story today, but I'll leave it up to Maria on the real presentation.
Go ahead, Supervisor Hahn.
Okay. All right. One of the, it's been, that would be putting us close to 25% of the year by the end of March. So I just want to get on this because it's been 5 months since we found out that we were operating in the red. And it looks like, according to the materials that are uploaded, that we are still currently operating in the red, as in what's coming in is not covering what's going out. So I think that this is really important that we not drag this out any further than the first week of March for obvious reasons. We need to make some adjustments because The further down the road we kick this can, the more, the more difficult it's gonna be to make up what we're losing. Because right now, there's more going out than what's coming in, and we obviously cannot operate like that. So,
I hear you, yes.
thank you.
Any other questions before we open it to the public? Right now, I'm not hearing, I'm hearing a consensus to go ahead and continue it. So if there's nothing further, we can open it up to the public regarding, you know, whether or not we're going to continue this item.
Good afternoon, Chair Tom Lasik. Happy birthday to both of you, Madam Pyska and Madam Owen, and happy Valentine's to everybody. I love you all, but not in a weird way. I have looked at the report, and there are definitely red flags, so giving them more time to fix it is probably prudent. There are actually errors in the presentation. It might be worthwhile, if I may suggest, for the board to advise staff and CDD on what do you expect in the final outcome. Just highlight some of the concerns. I think some of it has been pointed out that it now looks like the payback period is not even going to start until near the end of 2027 calendar year. There should be a discussion on that. The idea of tapping into other reserves because other counties do it. I noticed that the counties listed, none of them seem to actually be nearby counties. There's no Colusa, Napa, Sonoma, Mendocino. So I would say let's take a good look at what's actually happening in the state. It deserves scrutiny because it looks like it was a selective list, maybe not representative of what's really going on. The market, yes, I'm a big fan of UCLA Economics Department for a few really good reasons, but I think it should be considered some of the economic outcomes. And just as a teaser, for example, solar, the incentives have now gone away. The CPUC has a new rate schedule, and quite a bit of solar permits were issued in the last 3 years, and it's expected to drop 80%. That's like one full person or more. So those types of considerations, I think, needs to take a closer look. I'm glad they've noticed some errors and they want to fix them. I think they deserve that time. But if it would probably be wise if the board give them some direction as to what they would like to see and what they don't want to see and things like that. Thank you.
Anyone else in the room? Not seeing any. Do we have anybody online? Betsy, if you could state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Board. Betsy Kahn, Upper Lake. I want to go back to the very beginning. We know that there are times when there is not as much money coming in paid services than we have to pay for the maintenance of the expertise of the department. That just comes and goes. Policy has changed over the last 25 years. Something happened in this last few years where apparently an erroneous direction was given, or a direction was given that wasn't followed correctly. It ended up with a glitch in Fund X being exceeded, but it's not like the money isn't there, and it's not like we don't have to scrutinize ways to make the services more effective and efficient, but I don't really understand why this is a huge problem, since it's a part of the normal cycle of economic changes. And we do have those economic changes that are the extraordinary burdens of federal reductions and so forth. But that's the normal course of events. And it's simply up to us to maintain the level of public service that is required, whether it comes out of the general fund or not. Those are my comments.
Thank you. Any further on Zoom? iPhone 9. You state your name for the record.
Sky Laywell, Pillsbury Family Farms. I don't support kicking this can down the road. It's not a plan, it seems to be avoidance. There are real problems with the data and the tracking and how this current department is functioning. And delaying a conversation doesn't fix any of it. It just gives the problems more time to grow. Hearing that staff reductions could happen between now and whenever this comes back makes it even more concerning. You can't cut people and expect better work, better tracking, and better answers. It's just not how reality works. And if this board sees the cracks, then you should deal with them now. Ask them the hard questions and set the expectations now. Because pushing it off does not help the public. It definitely does not help the people that are trying to operate in this county legally either. So please, don't kick this can down the road. Thank you.
Thank you. Guest. If you could state your name, you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Angela Amaral. I would just like to point out on the continuances, you guys are dealing with a large department that has a severe deficit and has failed once again to meet an expected deadline. I feel that March 3rd should be an unacceptable answer to everyone up on that dais right now. This has been months. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. No more hands. I'm going to close public comment and bring it back to the board for further discussion. Supervisor Sabatier.
So obviously, there seems to be consensus to continue, but I would like to make some comments, and I'm not sure if I can or not, but I think that I just think there's some, I guess, baseline of things that need to be discussed. And I'm looking at Mr. Guintavano, who might or might not be able to help me through this. I don't know if I'm being cryptic or...
So a short answer is, as far as providing, what's before your board is really two sub-items. One is the continuance request. The other one is actually the substance, which was the information of which was already uploaded in Granicus. So board, your board, through the board's chair, has determined to take on the continuance issue first. Public comment was taken. But your board, with the board chair, and the board chair also has the discretion to provide feedback to staff on the issues, any concerns or issues that are related to, say, the documents that have already been uploaded to Granicus for purposes of this, if it is anticipated, the continuance to a later date. My suggestion at that point is if your board decides to go in that direction, your board would have to take public comment on that issue, because that is beyond, outside of just the continuance request issue, meaning the issue being the scope is brought into the effect of what to provide staff with any matters or issues in preparation for the future date. So if that's where your board's is leaning towards.
And so what I'd like to do is take up whether we're going to continue it, but also be able to provide direction to staff. If we do continue it, I'd like us to be able to provide clear directions on what we expect back at that date and time certain, if we decide to do that. And Supervisor Owen has a comment.
Yeah, I would prefer to handle it today as well, of course, as much as possible, at least get a good prospect. But I know from hearing from my colleagues, it looks like we're going to be continuing it. I had actually talked to some people, and I know that as Mr. Tom had mentioned, the solar incentives, because that has been our biggest. I mean, it looked like we were doing in last year 406 permits, by far our largest permit sector. PG&E is, as of, I think it's April 1st, April 1st. We had talked about it. April 1st, they're not going to be buying power back, PG&E won't. So I expect those to drop down significantly. So it looks like the permits are going to drop significantly because that was by far our largest bucket of permits. I personally am not for upping our building fees, permit fees, the cost to that. I think it's already burdensome, and we're wanting to encourage building. And so direction to staff would be bringing us more than one option on how to reduce the budget for the CDD.
I
And,
think we need to decide on whether or not we're going to continue and then. give
okay, go
direction.
ahead. Sorry,
Yeah,
got ahead of
yeah,
myself.
Yeah, thank you. So what I would, unless it's changed, I was seeing consensus to continue. Still have that. So with that, we can provide direction to staff that we are amenable to continuing it, but then we're going to give some direction, which we will take public comment again on that as well. So I think we can move on to that portion of this, and Supervisor Owen will let you go.
Okay.
first.
Just basically what I said, I don't want to see an increase, which I know that you had mentioned in the comments, that was one of the solutions. I think we need to look in other ways to be able to encourage our people to be able to build rather than making it more difficult.
We would be happy to prepare a scenario on how that would be possible without raising fees.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Supervisor Sabatier.
So I think we take action here as a board that has repercussions, and I think that providing increases in people's salaries automatically increases the fees. I mean, it has to be reviewed for that because we're not doing work for free. The cost that I'm seeing as the increase is a little bit of a concern. I'd like to better understand how you came to that number, because it looks like at least one of them is double the amount. While I want to make sure it covers what we do, I also want to make sure it covers exactly what we do, not any shortfalls of what we're not doing, and still need to somehow have money to cover those things. And so I know that there was a lull. That lull could happen again. And I think it's a lull of issues of our incentives that we have here for people to build in Lake County. I know I would never be able to build a house. It's just not cost effective. I would lose money just by building a house. I could not sell it for what it costs. That has nothing to do with CDD. That's just the circumstances that we have currently, that we are trying to change the economic mobility of this county in order to make that change. But until then, I don't think this is a one-off. I think that we're going to, yes, maybe have an increase when it comes to the Maha project, whenever they start going through the process of getting everything approved for all the building permits they're going to need. But that's also a potentially one-time thing that we need to be ready for, and then ready to go back to what normal is. And so I think, without asking for the crystal ball that is impossible to do, maybe a month-to-month number of permits rather than an annual, because that doesn't help me knowing what do you deal with from from July to December versus January to June, because you're telling us that the future will help solve the past, which I still have some issues with. But I'm not understanding that when you're only telling me 2017, 2018, 2019, and what the revenues are. I think it needs to be broken down a little bit better to understand what is our average and what do we need in order to be able to process that average. I know it's a bad word, and it's not what anybody wants to hear, but we have to live within our means as well, and we need to look at the number of staff that are in each department, and are we asking to get revenues to support staff, or are we having enough activity where staff is needed for that processing of that activity? And I haven't seen anything about that, and until I see that, I'm not sure from which bias we're coming from of service or supporting staff, and it needs to be a balancing act because we can't choose one over the other. We have to figure out what the best approach is. I don't believe that your departments will ever, nor should we aspire to ever not touch general fund. That's just not going to be possible. Is it possible that some years? Yes, but I also don't want code enforcement to say a nail's out of place, we're giving you a notice of violation because we're not making any more revenue because we've solved all the problems in the world. Yes, there's revenues to be made, but there's always going to be a need for you to be here and maybe less of a need for some of the services that are out there. Therefore, there's always going to be a need for general fund, and you showed that with some of the counties that you compared it to. So I think that we need to not aspire that this is a self-supporting only. It's a balancing act again. I just don't see that happening, and I haven't seen it happen in other communities as well. I do. Yeah, I wish we could have a deeper conversation rather than just a one-way monologue, because this, so there's two things. One, it's a little weird, and I get it. It's because the budget is set. We don't have any leftover money. Therefore, we do a loan versus just adjusting with more general funds. So it's kind of weird that we're having the conversation in the sense of, let me know what you're changing, but we're done with talking about this whole, the loan thing is weird, because you're getting general fund anyways, and, well,
No. Building is a non-general fund.
I'm talking about just the overall department. And building is also covering, well, but we're not just talking about building. We're talking about all, if we're not having a conversation about CDD, I think we're missing the mark. We have to have a conversation about the entire department, not one division. Because part of
Completely
the
agree.
problem we've been told, which I believe is correct, is that it has been helping to help pay for some of the other divisions in the department through some of the reserves that have been taken out. So I'm just going to stop because I think it's unfortunately somewhat useless without good dialogue in order to get better understanding. But March 3rd is too far, and it seemed pretty immediate when there was a need, but it doesn't seem pretty immediate to come back to us with what we're requesting. And that's really frustrating from this perspective, because all we're doing is saying there's not really a problem, or else we would be having the discussion and not this monologue that we're doing.
Supervisor Price, good.
I think we all agree that there is a big problem. And I think the direction that we've been given has been, give us a solution. We have to live within our means. This department has been supported by the general fund. We have to be very careful about that, or we have to make decisions about that. And I think that's part of the conversation, what we need more information on. When I look through the numbers yesterday, and when I had a conversation with both of you individually, I have a lot of questions. I don't think that we're there yet, right, to make our decision right now. We have to tighten our belt. We have to make some hard decisions. We have to look at revenue. We have to look at everything right now. And we have to figure out how we want this department to move forward. We also have the larger context of economic development and making sure our communities are still able to grow. So there's a lot of really difficult things that we need to decide as a board. But what we really need from CDD are some very clear plans. And, you know, that's, I think, what's lacking here. I think the research has been done. I wish that we could meet next week, but we just can't. I don't feel good about moving this further out, but I think for us to make the best decisions that we have to do that. You know, we're in a very different economic time right now. And if we don't handle this in this department, we risk other departments and we risk the problem getting bigger. With our general fund has to cover a lot of different things, and I don't want to see this expand beyond CDD. So I think it's important that we get all the right data, we have some plans, and this board makes some really tough decisions.
So where I'm at, hang on, I'll get right to you. I want to see clearly laid out plans that look at what would staff and service reductions, how much money would we have there? Look at the fees and calculate what would that bring in, and also whether or not there's any other funding that can support this situation. I think we need to look at all of those options and clearly understand and lay out what the consequences are also, or what the effect of those different options would be. And I think that's the last piece that we need to be able to make final decisions on how to get this corrected. And I do appreciate all the work that's been done. I'd also love to be able to do this today or next week, but I just think we need more information. And March 3rd is the earliest date that we can do it, unfortunately. But that's where I'm at with wanting to see clearly identified options with also the outcomes of how that's going to impact us. I mean, whichever way we go, and I haven't made any decisions yet because we haven't looked at all the data, but there's going to be consequences to whatever decisions we make. So I think we just need to have those all in front of us and be able to look at that. And I'll leave it at that for now and go to Supervisor Sabatier.
Why not next week?
Well, because there's no meeting.
We can have a special?
Why not next week?
Well, you're suggesting a special meeting?
I mean, is this important to us, or is it not important to us?
We can discuss that. I mean, what would that look like for you folks? I guess I should ask first.
I would need to authorize some weekend work for my finance people.
Doesn't have to be Tuesday.
Either way, well, and additionally, I just wanted to remind the board that you wanted things posted online and available to the public prior to the meeting. So
So we do, 1 second.
at this point, I have him getting me that data in time for the posting for March 3rd, but kind of a little late. I hadn't told Johanna, but maybe by that Friday instead of that Wednesday. But still trying to work with the timers.
There's, Supervisor, what about the week after that for a special meeting as well? I know there's some.
Everybody's out of town, I think.
Be back on Wednesday.
Oh,
Okay.
I mean, sometime on Wednesday, so Thursday or Friday would be available, but I'm just putting it out there just because we don't have an official meeting doesn't mean we can't have a meeting, and if this is important to us to figure out what the solution is and give direction, March 3rd, all the way from December just seems not urgent.
Can I ask a question, County Council? So if we did do a meeting next week, would that be since it's a special meeting, would that be a 24-hour posting?
Yes, it would be.
Yeah, so any of board members have any further on that?
I'm
for
fine
next
either
week?
way, yeah.
What was that?
I said I'm fine either way, yeah. I mean,
I'm good.
yeah.
I'd be
because-
open for it. I don't. Yes,
Thank you, Chair. I just want to make sure as far as staff capacity
right.
and the ability to turn it around in a well formulated manner, if that is possible or not. That would be the question I would ask.
Yeah. So I think we need to find out.
Put in the position to do it, so I mean,
We're working on it right now. Having it available and finished by next week might be a push, some more significant push than we have right now. The last week in February is possible. We have a planning commission meeting that Thursday, but nothing Friday, the 27th.
you guys are gone. That's-
Wednesday, the 25th is the Clear Lake Hitch Summit.
Go ahead.
I think we can leave it up to the chair in staff to make the decision? If it works on a calendar, if you can make it work or not, I think we can make ourselves available, but I will leave it up to you. That's my preference. I think there's a lot more to consider than making a decision on the fly.
Yeah, there's certainly a ton of questions here on staff availability, and I actually think that's a good idea if we set it for March 3rd, or if we can work it out a different date, then we could bring that back. Supervisor, what?
At this moment in time, it's set for March 3rd. I'm just looking for a different option, and if one shows up and we can make it happen, then that would make me happier, because I think that we should be discussing this sooner than later, rather
Okay.
than just waiting for the next available. That's the easiest path of least resistance, and I'm looking for the path to a solution.
Well, then I'll work, after the meeting, I'll work with the staff to see what we can make happen or not. And if there's no further discussion, I'm going to open it up to the public for comments related to the direction that we have discussed up here and given to staff.
Good afternoon again, Tom Lasik. A couple points of clarification regarding the solar comment. PG&E isn't stopping as of April 1st. They're changing the rate structure to, it's not zero, but it's much lower than it was before.
Okay, thank you.
The other thing I would respectfully point out is that to what Mr. Sabatier said about, going into the reserve and things of that nature, I think that somewhat misses the point. From a public's perspective, tapping into the Building and Safety Reserve was behind the scenes. It wasn't transparent. You didn't find out about it until 3 years later that that's how a significant portion of that department was being funded. While there might be other departments that use reserves, reserves are typically meant for special projects, special programs, and contingency. If you're going to go into a reserve, it should be reported and be transparent, top of line when you have your budget. It is obscuring the true cost of operations when you put it into the reserve and you don't have the controls, the governance, and the oversight that reserves typically have. And quite frankly, when it's done that way, you've essentially created a slush fund. And that's not what you want. You want all of that stuff to be in the budget, transparent, so that when you review and approve and authorize the department's expenditures, you know exactly what it's costing. And to date, that hasn't been the case with this department. It's been apparent that not only have they been tapping into the Building and Safety Fund, they've been tapping into the Cannabis Fund. Whether that's right or wrong, that's, I think, secondary. What's most important is changing the policy so that all of this stuff is transparent and in front of you when you make your budgetary decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room? Do we have anyone online, Johanna? iPhone 9. We'll unmute you, and you could state your name for the record, please.
Skylar Lewa, Pillsbury Family Farms, and I do support you guys in calling a special meeting on the community development. It needs to happen now. You talk about wanting growth, but still trying to raise fees, and now we have to deal with staff reductions. And if staff reductions have to be made, then maybe we should start at the top with Director Turner and high-level CDD management and give lower senior staff a chance to step up. Thank you.
Thank you.
We can make next week work. I've just been conferring with staff, and yeah, if the board would like to do a special meeting next week, we can make that work.
I think we still need to have a discussion and look at schedules, because I have no idea what everybody's got going on, but I appreciate that. And then we'll follow up. At this point, it's set for March 3rd unless we can confirm that. So we'll follow up, but was there anyone else online, Joanna?
No more hands.
No more hands, so bring it back to the closed public comment, bring it back to the board for any further direction. Not seeing any. Do you have questions?
I just have one final thought to leave the board with. I can understand the desire to see a scenario that shows no increase in fees. However, that scenario is going to show such a drastic slashing in staff resources and services provided that it's not going to look like the department looks right now. So just wanted to forewarn you on that. I appreciated Supervisor Sabatier's comment about when wages go up, so do fees, but that's not actually accurate. When wages go up, the need for fees goes up,
That's what I meant.
but the fee doesn't go up. Historically, our fee has not been raised, this board remembers how challenging it was even to get a CPI increase at the last master fee schedule. And so every year, and it precedes this board, every year since I started working with the county in 2006, the board has had to have that challenging balance between encouraging and ensuring development versus how much is then the gap in the budget with CDD. So just wanted to present that with the board. The idea of not raising fees at all is not likely. That's going to need to be part of the different options, and we will present multiple options.
Thank you. Not hearing anything further.
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
I noticed it was like something like 145 residential permits. Was that for houses to be built? What was that for? Because it just said residential.
That is likely for stick-built and manufactured homes, but I need to defer to staff for that. That wasn't my slide to present, so.
Okay,
have
yeah,
that
if you
one
can just get me the details on that,
course.
because I know a few years ago when I was campaigning, it was something like 30-something homes built, and then looking back on it, it's listed at over 100. So if you could just let me know, I saw what was in there, but it just didn't state, it was ambiguous, I guess, if that were actually houses being built.
I do not think we built 145 houses within the
That's what
last
I was
year.
thinking, that's why I was
Right.
questioning
So
it.
it's got to include some, oh, and I do have my
Oh,
chief building
Mr.
official who
Smalley's
can
here.
help with that. Please do.
Please.
I mean, sorry, if the chair says yeah.
Jack Smalley, Chief Building Official for the county. So when we talk about residential permits, there's a number of categories that fall under that residential heading in the OpenGov permitting software. Before in Acela, if it said residential, it was residential. And now, but there's a lot of other categories under that residential. So,
That's what I was surmising, but I noticed you had roofs singled out.
yeah.
You had solar, you had a number of different, so I just wasn't sure what I just didn't see us building that many homes.
Right. So hopefully I cleared it up a little bit for you.
We did not build that many homes, you are right.
Thank you. Supervisor Sabatier.
Just as a clarification, I asked the exact same question. I got a response from Director Turner and her staff that there was 35 permits for single-family dwellings or ADUs issued within 2025. These are still being constructed. That's the response that I received
So
when I
can
asked
we
about
get
the
a-
135.
Can we get a breakdown on what else is in that category that could be
Sure.
making up it'd be over 2/3 of it?
Right, right. And I think Supervisor Sabatier's numbers would be closer to what is actually being built. And if they're not finalized yet, they're still in a different category as issued, not completed. And it would be single-family dwellings, dwelling units, things like that.
As well as
you had mentioned.
modulars.
Yes, ma'am.
And then, so are they ever double-tracked, as in they're started in 2024 and they don't get finished until 2025? Are they showing up on both?
They would show up as issued, and they would show up as finalized. So, okay?
All right.
All right.
Okay. So you've got clarification, direction.
If I understand correctly, it is continued to March 3rd unless there is a different date that the chair and our staff are able to work out.
That's correct.
Thank you.
And we'll go ahead and close this item. Is 5.14 ready, CAO? Or,
Why don't you take up 7.5 and I'll make sure Jesse is online.
I'm going to take up item 7.5. This is consideration of the following advisory board appointment. 1, Fish and Wildlife Advisory Committee, and 2, Middletown Area Town Hall. And be ready for discussion on that from board members.
Good with Chris McLeod. She's excited to get back on.
Okay, any further on that? I'm good with that. Middletown Area Town Hall,
I'm going to accept Tara
okay.
Ybarra for Middletown Town Hall as an alternate.
Okay, if there's nothing further, we'll go ahead and open this up to the public. Is there any member of the public that wishes to comment on these appointments? Not seeing any in the room. No hands online. I'll bring it back to the board for action.
And I have my personal opinion on Michelle Scully, but she's not in my district. We're good with that?
I'm good with that.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Then I move to approve Chris McLeod and Michelle Scully to their appropriate designation on the Fish and Wildlife Advisory Board.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That carries 5-0.
I'd like to move that we accept Tara Ybarra into the Middletown Math as an alternate.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries.
And Mr. Chair, I apologize, just for the record, that opinion was a positive opinion.
Yes, that's what I heard.
Wanted to clarify.
Thank you. And now we're going to move on to our item 5.14, and we have special districts appearing on Zoom. Johanna?
Good afternoon, board. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, we can't see you. There you go.
Okay. Good afternoon, board. Jesse Sarma, Lake County Special Districts. I'm here to present the item. So we are looking to amend the recommended action. The change we are going to implement here is we're going to award the bid and authorize the chair to sign the notice of award and for the project agreement. If there's any questions about the item that I can answer here. I guess it was just a clerical mistake here with our title.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from board? Anything further, CAO? County Council?
So just for, to elaborate on Mr. Samaran's revised recommended action, there's mainly two documents before your board today, both of which were uploaded in Granicus and Legistar. First one is the notice of award, and so the amendment there would be to change the signature field from County of Lake Special Districts Administrator to County of Lake Chair of the Board of Supervisors, to have your board approve it and authorize the chair to sign. Other document would be the project agreement itself, and the only recommended change as part of the recommendation there would be to change the signature field of the owner from Lake County Special Districts to the County of Lake with the chair of the board to sign that field if it's approved. And so it would consist of two separate motions there, and I could walk your board through that when it's time.
Thank you. Anything further from the board before I open to the public? Is there anybody in the room that wishes to speak on this item? Seeing none, move to online. Sterling, if you could state your name for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon. Name is Sterling Wellman. I went through the agenda, but wanting to have it kind of clarified more, what are we moving to approve? And if it has anything to do with the sewage spill in Clear Lake. Thank you.
This was item 5.14 on the consent agenda, which is
It's
a bid award for a water main replacement project
in Kelseyville.
in Kelseyville. It's a award bid for the Live Oak Drive water main replacement project, has nothing to do with the sewer spill. Okay, anything further online, Johanna? No, not yet. Hearing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Supervisor Sabatier.
Yeah, just to add for further clarification, indeed, this is in Kelseyville. This is for a water main, not a sewer main, different budget, different district, complete separate situations. And every system needs to get what they need. So just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you. Supervisor Pyska.
Can I get the motions, please?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you. So the first motion would be motion to award, bid, and authorize the chair to sign the notice of award as amended.
So moved.
We have a motion?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, that carries 5-0. Go ahead.
Second motion would be to approve the project agreement and as amended and authorize the chair to sign.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries 5-0. I'm going to move, are we ready for 7.8?
Thank you, Board.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you, Jesse.
Chair, we could probably do 7.8 and 7.9.
7.8, we're going to handle 7.8 first, which is consideration of a resolution increasing reserve cancellation, making additional funding available for the Robin Lane sewage release event, response, and streamlining process by amending Resolution 2026-08, amending Resolution 2025-118, adopting final budget for fiscal year 2025-2026 to cancel $500,000 in reserve designations in Disaster Response and Recovery Fund 110 and transfer to Lake Sands Southeast Regional System Fund 254 to increase reserve cancellation by $1 million and 0 cents and remove transfer to Lake Sands Southeast Regional System. That is the item, and we have our deputy or our assistant CAO, our sheriff and undersheriff, and who's going to start this out?
I will.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Board, Stephen Carter, Assistant CIO. So the main reason for this resolution is right in the title. We're going to keep all the funds from when IC was taken over by the sheriff and the city. All the funds from general fund are going to stay in budget unit 1920, which is our disaster budget unit. And we have already have invoices and or known expenses of a little over 1.2 million. It was provided with 1,143,000, but we already know of some more since then. So the goal is this would increase it to 1.75, so 1,750,000 of funding available on top of the 1.1 that was already special districts. And all the expenses would flow and now through budget unit 1920, which is a disaster budget unit. And that's the way it is currently going now. And don't know if there's really anything else to update on that.
Supervisor Pyska.
Yes, I will just ask the question I asked last time because it's in the resolution. Funds will be repaid through state claims and or special districts, and I'm guessing, I mean, we're making this transfer knowing full well that it will, that the reimbursement likely or could not happen, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
We are working diligently with Cal OES and the state, but there is no guarantees.
Right, and we need to do it.
Go ahead, Undersheriff.
Just here to support.
Center button.
I got you. Undersheriff Pollich, just here to support this request. Obviously, we've been working really hard for the past 2 weeks that our team took over Incident Command. Been continuing some things with our tanks and water deliveries and testing. Those all have costs, and those will continue for a number of months probably. We did identify our long-term solution, which was some filtration systems. Those have been ordered, and those are costly, and some of the unknown costs are what it's going to cost to have those installed. We're working on that now, so this will be necessary.
So that is a key difference from last time, is last time it was basically water tanks and filling water. This time, this funding is basically, we would like it to be wide open because there's some filtration devices, well testing, tanks, water deliveries, laundry, basically everything.
Okay, Supervisor Sabatier.
Yeah, no, I appreciate coming here in anticipation that this is not done yet. Basically, there's going to be more needs. Do appreciate the leadership from the unified command that is happening. I appreciate your composure during the town hall meetings, where every time there's an emergency, no matter what that emergency is, you're dealing with people's emotions, people's frustrations. I do appreciate the way that you've approached this, both in dealing with the public and in trying to resolve the problem, and just greatly appreciate that we're doing this in a proactive fashion rather than a reactive fashion at this moment in time to prepare for what's coming. So thank you. Looking forward to approve this.
Thank you.
I just wanted to thank them for stepping up and getting in the mix.
Thank you. It obviously takes a team, and we have a lot of good people working on it and working hard for the last 2 weeks and putting in a lot of hours. So thank you.
What's appreciated.
And my question at this point is, with everything we know, are we confident that the 1 million is enough to move us forward with what we know right now?
I would say, based on the information we have, I'm going to give you a 75% yes on that. There's variables to, a long-term resolution to this that we can't factor in. So the plan that we have right now with the filtration systems, installing those on the homes that want them, this is a long-term resolution to this rather than short-term with water tanks and deliveries is just unsustainable, and that's what we looked at. The command team and the incident and through OES, we looked at that, and that's just not a feasible long-term plan. So the filtration systems were, and that's the direction we're now moving. But we can't say that there's not going to be something that's going to pop up in the next month, or once we get these filtration systems installed, there may be some other problems that we're going to have to resolve moving forward for that long-term solution. So I'll give you a 75% on that. We think it's going to be enough based on our numbers, but can't be 100% certain at this point.
Understood, and I appreciate that answer. Supervisor Sabatier?
Yeah, just a brief comment. I know I spoke with the city manager yesterday. I don't know what our numbers look like as of now, but I know that we've moved over to a online application to apply for the filtration systems as well as the tanks, and then there's a review to see if the tanks are eligible for those individuals. The first numbers that I got, which I think were either Monday morning, they were probably yesterday morning, seemed low. I think there's confusion. I think there's some people who don't know how to use the system, a number of things. I hope that number climbs, but I think that I know I'm paying attention to the number to see if I need to maybe do a little bit more outreach to make sure that people are aware. If they say no, they say no. We're not going to force anybody to do something they don't want to do, but I'm just paying attention to that, and I just want to alert you guys to that situation.
We discussed that at our meeting this morning, and we are making phone calls to all the numbers we have. We have quite a few phone numbers for all the residents out there, so we're going to make phone calls directly to them and ask if they want it. Obviously, we can't force them, but we'll make that contact so we can make sure everybody is aware.
And that's part of what I appreciate that's happening. The other part is I know that we're taking out now 1.75. Do you have a balance of what's left in that budget?
Then that reserve is different than the budget.
Oh, yeah, in that reserve, since we're pulling it from the reserve. I know at one point we had 4 million. I thought we added another million in there in our last
Just over 5
budget.
million before taking this out.
So it was just over 5 million? Okay, that's what I thought. So 1.75 leaves about 3.25, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Anything further from the board at this point? Not seeing any. I'll go ahead, Mr. Carter.
Because the filtrations were brought up, I did want to say that in reaching out, we have ordered 100, and we plan on ordering it probably at least 50 more. So even with the expenses we have, it's only a piece of the puzzle.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and open it up to the public. If you could state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, Tom Lasik. I attended the Wednesday meeting. I thought, congratulations, or thank you for what the Sheriff's Department has been doing. One of the things I am concerned about is that on the filtration system, the city manager for Clear Lake mentioned that they weren't going to, that the responsibility for ongoing maintenance for those filtration systems were on the resident. And also earlier in that his report, he said that the recovery process could take several months. I would respectfully suggest to assume that until the situation is back to baseline, whatever that is, that the county will probably end up having to pay for additional lamps and filters. And those can be, I don't know what the cost is, but it could be somewhat pricey. That tends to be a typical liability thing. So at least from a contingency standpoint, you should bake that into your forecast. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else in the room? Okay, we have online Sterling. If you state your name, please, again for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
Yes, my name is Sterling Wellman. I did email you guys this morning or last night about some transparency with the special districts. I appreciate that the Sheriff's Office is actually stepping up and doing what it needs to take care of our community members through this bill. But $1.75 million does not equivalent to 3,900 gallons of raw sewage that contaminated the water or the aquifer. I'm going to still sit here and ask you guys to that motion I gave you guys last week. You only need one person to be able to pick up that motion, another one to second it, and 3 of you guys to vote on it to get the transparency of what actually the correct raw sewage amount that affected that aquifer, because 3,900 gallons wouldn't affect an aquifer that expands about 300 acres, if not to 500 acres. We wouldn't have to be buying all these filtration systems if it was only 3,900 gallons. So we are requesting the board to sit here and hold special districts accountable. Those pumps go off. We need to know when they went off. If they even had 30 pumper trucks, they had to come from out of county. How long did it take for them to get here to pump Station 1 and Lift Station 2? Because if we turn those off, like I explained last week, you would have backup somewhere else in the county that was not, in Clear Lake, that was not documented. So even with 30 pumper trucks just pumping Lift Station 1 and 2, saying it's around 30 to 45-minute trip, you would still need probably about 20 to 30 more lift trucks, the pumper trucks, to pump what they stated was pumped off the ground. So I am just requesting that you guys actually step forward and hold them accountable and give the people the transparency that they deserve. Because if we're spending $1.75 million, it's way more than 3,900 gallons. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further online? Cassandra, if you please state your name for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Cassandra Holbert. I want to thank the board for bringing forward this item and recognizing that additional funding and streamlined processes are necessary. I support this action. I do want to emphasize that as these funds are being made available, it is vital that they translate into visible on-the-ground progress for residents. Today marks 31 days since the spill occurred, and I want to note for the record that tank installation and access to clean water has slowed down, while there are still residents who do not have tanks or reliable access to safe water. An emergency is defined not just when it begins, but whether the response is still actively meeting residents' needs. When installations pause while impact persists, it creates a gap between the emergency declaration and the lived reality of these residents. I respectfully ask that this funding be prioritized for direct resident impacts, water access, mitigation, testing, and clear communication. and that progress be regularly communicated so that the public can see how these resources are actually being deployed. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Anything further? No more hands. Bring it back to the board, Supervisor Sabatier.
Couple of things. Yes, there's been a lot of confusion on the report. It was stated at one point 2.9 million gallons. The 3,900 has been pretty consistent of what went into the waterways. Some math happened where what was taken by the vac trucks versus what was spilled. As far as I'm concerned, 3,900 gallons went into the waterways and 2.9 million gallons spilled out of the pipeline. I'm just going to leave it at that. The rest of the numbers, it's probably the state wants to find out what we did and what was sucked out. So further explanations will be needed. I am not making any special requests right now for the spill itself until we're done with this emergency, because I think helping the people is the number one thing that we need to do, not explain why it happened. That needs to come after the fact, and it will not be forgotten. So I just want to reiterate, I stated this to a couple of folks at the last town hall. I am not here to take people away from the job that they need to be doing so they can give us an explanation to feel good and still be in the exact same position we're in. I need people to continue to do the work that they're currently doing. It does create frustration that things are slow. I wish Canada was a little closer, and I wish there wasn't the issue of supply chain and the process to get these things here. And so unfortunately, it is creating that feel of slowing down. Right now, we're hurrying up to wait, and that sucks, especially for those that still don't have anything connected. And so I would say if you are in a situation where you don't have a tank and you don't have water, please reach out to me. I'm able to help some of the folks. I am in communication with the team, and I appreciate the fact that I'm able to communicate with you guys. And I think that most of the time we can find good resolutions for everybody. And so please reach out to me if you can. My phone number is everywhere, including our website.
Anything further from the board?
And my final thing is, hopefully we can create a level of transparency for the funds. You have that right in front of us, right in front of you. I know you've shared that with me. It would be nice if we can maybe package it up and show people how the money is being spent. I'm not in a huge rush for that, but if that's a possibility, I would like to make that possible to add on to the City of Clear Lake's website just to show the folks.
I think with that, we're ready for action, unless there's anything further from staff.
Mr. Chair, I offer a resolution.
Resolution's been offered.
Supervisor Owen?
Yes.
Supervisor Sabatier?
Aye.
Supervisor Crandall?
Aye.
Supervisor Pyska?
Yes.
And Supervisor Rasmussen?
Aye. The resolution passes. Thank you. I appreciate you guys' work on this.
Thank you, board.
Thanks, you guys.
We're going to move on to our 7.7,
Thank you, guys.
Our 7.7, I'm going to read it out. Consideration of a request to close health services all day on April 9th, 26th, August 13th, 26th, and October 15th, 26th for essential all-staff training. And I believe we have a request to pull this item.
Excuse me, thank you, Chair, we request to pull this item because the attachment was not posted with the agenda. So it will be brought forward at a future date.
Thank you. Any discussion from the board? Not hearing anybody. Any member of the public wish to make any statements about whether or not we pull this? Not hearing any. No hands to bring it back to, go ahead, Supervisor.
Just a brief comment, and I made this comment in my conversation with the CAO this week. I think maybe having a conversation about office closure, I would like to be a little bit more predictable about office closures and maybe having a more strategic way of allowing our staff. I think it's good to have training, but I think it's also good for the public to be very well aware ahead of time. And I think this is one of the easy ways to find out if you're paying attention to our board agendas. And it's just, I don't know, I feel like there needs to be a deeper conversation about what is our process for office closures, when is it available, and how can we coordinate in a more county fashion rather than individual department fashion.
I recall we did talk about that, so I agree with looking into that. Hearing nothing further, we'll go ahead and pull that item. And I need to find out what the time estimate on 7.6 is for this item. I don't know that we're going to hear it yet.
I was thinking 15, 20 minutes.
Okay, we're going to have to hold off on it because we're going to have to move back into closed within a few minutes.
Sounds fine.
So if you could stand by, thank you. And then I'm going to move on. I think I can handle 7.9 in a few minutes before we move to closed. And this is my item. I'll go ahead and introduce it. What's going on with this is you're familiar with that ranch in the Lakeport area. They approached me. They're going to be doing a America 250-year celebration for our community that is intended to be inclusive of our entire community. It will, of course, honor our veterans, our military, our first responders, but it's also meant to honor all of our community in the 250-year birthday of America. During this ceremony, they're going to be raising a giant American flag at their very large flagpole that they have. And at the base of that, they're going to be installing a bronze plaque, which is, again, meant to represent all of our community. And because they want it to be inclusive of the whole community, they want it to have some kind of a seal on it in addition to their insignia with the flag. And they had chosen a request to put the county seal on it because that is inclusive of all of our agencies, all of our people in the county, where they're not going to be able to put 20 or 30 different seals on there from participating agencies. So that's the request. I feel comfortable with it, but this is not a decision that can be made outside the entire Board of Supervisors. There is no clear ordinance on really making decisions like this, but what it comes down to is it needs to be a decision by the whole board if we're going to have our seal on something like this. And I have included for the board and the public the image of what the plaque looks like, the language on there, and I'll leave it at that for the summary. And we have a question from Supervisor Sabatier.
Yeah, I do appreciate you bringing this, and please listen to the full comment before you judge my comment. I don't think we should ever provide our seal for someone else to use, but I think we should support this. I think that we should maybe even have a larger conversation of what are we doing as a county for the 250th anniversary of the United States. And so I would like us to approve moving forward and us paying for the plaque. And provide that plaque for that rather than allowing someone else to use our seal, because I think at that point we start saying who do we trust with the seal and who do we not trust with the seal, and I'm not sure that that's a judgment call we should be making. I think they're very trustworthy. I think they're doing great stuff in the community, but I think we should be participants rather than a very passive participant, because it's not that much in funding, and I think it just protects us to participate in that way rather than saying you have the authorization to use our seal.
So what you're saying is you're okay using it if we pay for it, we sponsor the plaque, and then we have placed it there.
Because, I mean, we give proclamations out all the time. It has our seal on it, but it's coming from us. We're not giving them the authority to use the seal on their thing. And so again, it's America's 250th birthday. What are we doing? I think we should have that conversation, and this could be something that we support in one of the things that we do.
Okay, Supervisor Pyska.
I think I like the plaque, how it's designed. I like the seal. I think giving permission is good. I don't know if I agree with paying for the plaque because it's private property. It's not open to the public, and I think that's just my difficulty of, like, I'm happy to support it as is, but If this was in a park or someplace that was accessible to the public, it would be a different story. But because it is private property, and because you know, it's in a place where you would pay to visit, I don't think it's appropriate for us to pay for it.
Okay, anything further from the board at this point? Then, before we discuss further, I'll go ahead and open it up to the public. Is there anyone in the room who wishes to comment on this? No hands on. Betsy, go ahead and unmute, and you can speak for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is Betsy Kahn. I think if it's going to be sponsored by a private entity, no matter how magnificent the intent, I do not believe that the county seal should be on that. I think it should be on those artifacts that are presented by the county itself. And yes, we should do something for that birthday. But this is a private enterprise, and I don't think it's quite kosher to endorse it with the county seal. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? Okay, go ahead.
Tom, Lacey, just as a suggestion or maybe as perspective, it was mentioned that the board provides proclamations that have the seal on it. In theory, those proclamations are probably brought home and are on private households similarly. So I think it's really a good discussion to have about how the seal is properly used to make sure, you know, the county's endorsing things. I think the concern is well founded. You know, it is on private property, but so are, you know, the decrees that we see handed out and things of that nature. I do think maybe a way forward, because it does sound like a really good thing, and they do sound like a magnificent organization, is to fund the effort, and that gets us out of the legal tangle and the appearance of impropriety. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And it looks like there's no further, so I'll close public comment. I was comfortable with doing it this way, otherwise I wouldn't have brought it to the board, but go ahead.
No, I was thinking about it, and I'm just taking it all into consideration. And I feel like since it is going to be private, I mean, I'm good either way, but what I really want to say is that if it's going to come to us each time when we're considering something like this, I mean, it's a case-by-case scenario. There could be a group that's bringing it to us that we definitely know, you know, that wouldn't be a good idea. But so for me, I'm okay with this one, and just going forward with it as it is. I think they're going to use it for the right reasons. And I do think about what Betsy said, though, also, but not in that context. I think about it in a context of it's 2100 or 2100, and they look back, and or something like that. You know, it's 2090, and they're looking back, and you know, I don't know what could happen from that point on. But when you think about, did the county pay for it, and then we get into this argument. You know, I'm just kind of, you know, doing that one thing rabbit hole. But either way, if we come back here and we discuss it and decide if we're going to allow it or not, I'm fine with it. Yeah.
Well, that's a good point. I think because there's no real solid precedent or law regarding this, we're going to have to look at every situation. But I do also like the idea that as a county, we should be doing something as well for America's 250th birthday. I think we're going to have to bring that back as a separate discussion, because it's not in front of us. But at this point, I don't want to, this is time sensitive. That's why it's in front of you today, because it takes time to get those. And this is coming up May 2nd, and we still certainly have time to bring something else back. Go ahead. I'll go ahead and take one more comment, even though it was closed. Lisa?
Thank you. This is Lisa Wilson in Clear Lake. I support Bruno's suggestion that private enterprises should not use the county seal. I also support the idea that the county should figure out something to celebrate our 250th celebration. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Supervisor Owen.
I'm for them having the seal there on that property, and I think it does need to be addressed by case. I don't have a problem whether we provide it is a great idea, or whether they pay for it, make a donation to us or something for it, or something along those lines. As far as the next step, I would like to see us do something for the 250th also, but closer to the 4th of July. So closer to the actual date, it would be, and that would give us enough time to really plan something nice. So I think I would like to see that put on the agenda so we can start discussing it. And I don't know if we want to have an ad hoc or if we want to have a committee to kind of start looking into what we're going to do, whether we're going to do something countywide or if we're going to do something like here in Lakeport, or how we're going to handle it.
Well,
So
we'll
we
figure
should-
out bringing that back
Yes.
for that portion of it.
Mhm.
And then, so we have, if we have action on this item, is there,
The question, I think we're all for it. The question is whether we're going to buy it or whether they're going to pay for it.
well, we're going to have to have a motion or no motion.
I'll make the motion as is
Go
for
ahead.
you. Okay. I'll approve, Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the use of the county seal for a plaque celebrating 250 years of America and the patriots of Lake County's communities to be installed at that ranch.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. Thank you. We'll go ahead and close that item, and we're going to move back into closed session.
I hope they add ranch to the plaque.